evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you are on our fine plagued earth. This is Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily, and I am flanked by the man himself from WrestleTalk, the resident journo of WrestleTalk. It is Louis Dangoor. Louis, not working this week, but here you are, brother. How are you?
Yeah, not working this week, and I've broken some news, and I'm here on Wrestling Daily. So looks like I am working this week. But no, yeah, excited to be here. Excited to chat wrestling after Raw last night.
True grind never stops, Louis. You know this. Yeah, there's plenty to talk about at the moment, of course. And as you see by the titular article in our Wrestling Daily today, Louis Dangoor does have some news to bring to you, and we've got some other scoops and exclusives to get into as well. So there's a lot to dive into, and of course, the heartbeat of the show is the Ultra Chats, and we've already got a couple waiting, so thank you very much to those who are eager beavers, the good eggs that you are. But make sure you see the message at the bottom. Get your messages and questions into WrestleTalk.com/Wrestle2. And then the fantastic moderators here will get them to us and we will read them out on the show. And you can have your opinions, your hot takes, whatever it may be. I will read them. And that is, again, my favorite part of the show. Make sure you do it. We've got a lot of stuff to jump into. Of course, there was Raw last night. There's been a SmackDown. There's been a WarGames. There's been a lot since we've last been here on the Wrestling Daily. So there's a lot to jump into. But I must remind you while you're here, our home is Wrestle2, so please do subscribe, get those notifications on for Wrestle2 on YouTube channel, and of course follow them on Twitter too. They just broke 400, which doesn't sound a lot, but they've only been going about a month. So thank you very much, guys. And
it's not bad.
Anyone tuning in, please do make sure you have a little trip over there to Wrestle2 on Twitter. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind you as well, you can catch us on podcast. We've got that all fixed for you. So make sure you do. Make sure if you want to catch up with us on your commute in the bath, I don't know where you listen to podcasts, but if you do, get Wrestling Daily in your ears. So without further ado, Luigi, why don't you bring to us the news of Roman Reigns and WrestleMania that you dropped on WrestleTalk this week?
Yeah, so I reported earlier today, I'd heard from numerous people actually, that the plan, obviously, WWE is hoping for Rock and Roman at Mania. We're all hoping for it. Everyone with a brain is hoping for it because it makes the most sense. However, with The Rock not being a full-time WWE superstar, with the worldwide situation as it is, there's a lot of variable factors that mean that might not happen and might not be able to come to fruition, including COVID, including Rock's movie schedule, including even where WrestleMania is going to take place, because it's been rumored that it might not be in Hollywood, which, given Rock's movie star status, would have made the most sense. So I've learned that WWE's got some contingency plans in place, and some discussions have been made, and sort of some ideas have been thrown out for what would happen if they can't get The Rock. And Big E's been discussed. He's currently the Bookit's favourites to win the Rumble, so that makes sense. Daniel Bryan,
joint favourite.
Joint favourite. Does that not count as favourite?
I mean, it's favourite, but it's worth saying joint favourite with Edge. But anyway.
Joint favourite with Edge, yeah. So it's kind of like one from Raw, one from SmackDown. So if a SmackDown starts winning it, the bookies think it will be Big E. And obviously that's not... You shouldn't take too much stock in that, but it's worth some weight. Daniel Bryan, who obviously has been reported by Dave Meltzer, will be facing Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. So either the plans will continue or be postponed. Drew McIntyre, I've heard as well, with higher-ups being quite impressed with how Drew and Roman did with their Survivor Series program. And obviously we saw on Raw last week, Drew seemed to keep that plate spinning with Roman. He was sort of, although he's moving on to AJ and he's got his stuff with Sheamus, he sort of mentioned Roman by name in a promo. So it looks like that feud's going to be continuing, and we know why now. And the other name is certain Bill Goldberg has been discussed. Obviously, this was the match that WWE wanted to do last year for WrestleMania and was booked, all set to go until the day, like a couple of days before the show, it got announced, when obviously Roman Reigns pulled out the show with COVID-related concerns, and Goldberg dropped the title to Braun Strowman. But I've heard if WWE can't get The Rock, that Goldberg has also been considered. We know that he's on a 2-match per year deal, which I actually reported back in April, and he's since confirmed. and he has 2 more years of that deal. So he could easily come in for 2 more matches next year, one of which could be against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So yeah, can we just green this straight away and move on?
I don't know, man. I don't know, Lou. I mean, what? What's this? Red? Hey, that wasn't even me.
Listen.
Nah,
we joke.
I wouldn't do that to my boy.
We laugh and we joke, but the BS-ometer is nothing to be
toyed with.
It's nothing to be toyed with. Exactly. There are limits, Alex. There are limits, and you've just crossed it.
Wow. No, yeah, fair enough. There you go. I will clarify this as the BS-ometer. What I will definitely say is green, in the sense that I know. The rest, of course, is Louis' report, which we do trust, but I'm going to just riff on what I know out of this. I've said this for a million years that The Rock is the plan. From the inception, I'd heard as much. Seems to be the direction. I don't think it takes a genius to work that out either. Doesn't make me or anyone else really a great scoopster to think that with the tribal chief gimmick and whatnot. And I'd said that Goldberg as well, the whole thing, him being SmackDown, I did kind of ask after that, what was that about? And I was told that, they're planting the seeds of him and Roman again, and that is an option if The Rock can't happen. There's a lot of things in play, right? And when we think that we're in mid-December, you would hope that they would really know where they're going with the program. They don't have that much time. Basically, the night after the Rumble, you need to know where you're going, essentially.
I mean, even the night after TLC, really, you need to know a rough Rumble plan. Well,
you need to know, who your Rumble winner is going to be and which champion is going to go on to face. But what I'm saying is they might already know that person's going to face Drew, is what I'm saying. So they at least need to know, or whoever would be the champion, that is. They at least need to know what the direction will be for Roman from then on, because you don't want to just build The Rock and Roman in, let's say it does happen in 3 weeks. You want to get your TV ratings and draw that out and make the story as compelling as the rest of the tribal chief has been. So, I all of the names on that list, I could buy every one of them, even if Louis hadn't have said what he'd said. And I don't know, my missus sitting over there just said, "Hey, Big E, McIntyre, and Drew." I would go, yeah, probably. Without giving it too much thought, they all make a degree of sense. I do hope Big E wins the Rumble. And then, of course, it makes sense if you don't want to do babyface versus babyface. There's lots of different things they can do, and the continuing story of Sheamus and Drew is making me feel like maybe it won't be Drew for Roman, maybe it will be Sheamus for Drew. But I also wonder, unless they're going to have a tag title win in the next few weeks or something like that, which doesn't look likely either, I think that is probably more a Rumble plan. So there's a lot of different things that can happen there. But I mean, ostensibly speaking, everyone that Louis has named in the report, I could definitely buy. I would be happy to see, other than Goldberg. And if you are going to appear Goldberg, you're getting run down. You are getting run down out of here. Roman over as strong as anything. Thanks for coming. Get your next match in later on in the year in Saudi Arabia. Cheerio. Enjoy your money. That's it for me. Good work, Lou. Good work. And I believe while we're here, you had another bit of news this week that we haven't touched on since the time of the fact, but obviously everyone knows Sting appeared in AEW now, and Louis provided some context on why that may or may not have happened and what went down with WWE.
Yeah, so I heard some context from sources within AEW that said that Sting wasn't particularly happy with how he was treated by WWE, and that is why he wanted to join AEW to have, and this is a direct quote, do something good for the fans for a final gig. So hopefully that means a sort of Sting having more control over what he wants to do. I mean, Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Sting was very much holding out for that match with Undertaker. I've heard as much as well, whether it be cinematic or not. And I think that is the root of his frustrations, really. Obviously, not being. I've heard even the root of his frustrations spanned back to his first match, and obviously, I think you can see why. I mean, similarly with sort of when we hear about people being, it was, I think, back to Quizzlemania when you and I, the first thing you said when Sting, and I can't remember what game it was, but it was Sting, and you said mistreated by WWE. So you can see why he'd feel the way he does. I mean, he didn't have a great go of things at all, really. I think he had 3 or 4 matches, 2 of them. Well, it was either 1 or 2 on Raw. I can't remember.
2.
But yeah, Sting, I think it was a tag match and a match with Big Show or something. Who knows? Well, I mean, someone does know. But yeah, so I've heard he wasn't particularly happy and wanted to come back for a final run. And Sports Illustrated has actually backed this up today and said that Sting is planning on wrestling in AEW, which to me is a scary thought. I mean, I'd love to see Sting in the ring, but I also wouldn't. I think it'd be a case of that Daniel Bryan fever at the beginning. Well, I don't know about you, but in 2018, whenever he did anything, I would crap myself and I couldn't actually enjoy his matches because I'd be like, I'm so worried about anything going wrong. And I think knowing Sting is 61, not in his 30s, I'd probably have a similar, if not worse, feeling. But yeah, good for Sting. Hopefully he is fulfilled in what he gets to do. He broke records with his merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees, most items sold in a day. So there's obviously a clamor to see him there, and fans are particularly interested in seeing him do what he's got to do. So yeah, looking forward to the next few weeks of Dynamite to see how this plays out.
I think obviously the Cody Rhodes match is there for him. How they do it and get around it, and what his medical status is another thing. Yeah, in terms of him leaving WWE, I mean, I think I said this last week, right? Like when he got injured against Rollins, I feel like WWE just kind of went, don't really have anything else for you then, which is really foolish. And he still stayed on their payroll for like another 3 years after that. Yeah. 3.5 years, I think.
2015 he retired, or sort of retired. He went into the Hall of Fame in 2016. And was
it not 2016 he faced Rollins? Damn.
No, I'm pretty, because 2016 was. No, 2016 was post-draft. This was pre-draft. This was the night of champions.
It is 2015. You're right.
Yeah.
Former
Quizzlemania champion.
Well, this is right. I mean, either way, right? Like, so they kept him on, let's say, just shy of 5 years. Wow. After that match on the payroll, I think the common consensus is it got to the time where they were making the cuts or people, or renewing stuff this year, and it was like, what are we really still paying him for, other than the name value? And I do.
To be fair, I don't know whether it was a deal of contract being up and he left, or a contract was offered. I don't know.
I believe it was up this year.
As in, I don't know whether WWE went, you can have another deal, and he rejected, or not. But based on and I don't know this, but based on my report, it would make sense that he rejected a deal. I just don't know if one was offered. But yeah, I mean, with AEW, I would be surprised if WWE didn't make a move for him, knowing Cody's. I mean, he was saying that he wanted to face Sting years before Sting, years before AEW was a thing, years before Sting even left. So knowing that, I would be surprised if WWE didn't put up a fight to make him stay.
Interesting stuff from Luigi, and yeah. I mean, I feel like I can't really give you anything but green just by virtue that you work here. Would tarnish our own show otherwise.
I mean, I do have StreamYard access, so I could remove you from the stream if you voted anything other.
Yes,
I know this is Alex McCarthy's.
But you would be removed from the show permanently, Lou. You'd be gone.
Short term, Alex. I don't care about the long term. As long as I get the show tonight.
You're basically WWE in this scenario, going right. That short-term booking. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like Sting, there's a lot of avenues that they can go down with that, and I don't think anyone would have called Sting wrestling in 2020. Not so long ago.
2021, by the looks of it.
Wow. Yeah. God damn. We'll move on to some Ultra Chats in a second. First of all, WrestleMania UK. Hope you're all good, Alex. You're working hard in the gym, boy. Keep it going. Brother. That's me right now, even though I'm only really hitting the treadmill. But thank you. Thank you for checking out my Instagram stories, which you're all welcome to do so. I just let myself go during lockdown, Lou. I had to get a hold again.
You and me both, mate. I think people either went one or two ways. They either lost a load of weight by like going on runs just to keep busy, or decided to sit in front of the sofa, watch TV with a bag of crisps, which seems like it was me and you.
Yeah, terrible. I played 90 minutes on Sunday, and my lord, yesterday was a tough get up. I've got to tell you.
Yeah, I've played football twice over the past 2 weeks. Played on Thursday, again on Monday, and I woke up this morning and my legs were a bit sore. I was like, no. But yeah, I think you and I are both. You got the excuse of being a dad, though.
Yeah, Matthew McCarthy's right. Like, listen, a dad bod is a real thing. I've said this before. It is a real thing because when you get kids, all the time you had that you thought, I'll go to the gym this morning, or or after work. Like, and my career, to be fair, you combine those two together, and all of a sudden you're like, do I have enough energy to stand there and cook a healthy meal? No, I don't. I want the quickest meal I can get. And then, like when you wake up in the morning, you've had broken sleep because of your kids. You don't think, I'm probably just going to go run 5K now. You think, I'm going to sneak that extra hour in bed. No question. So, like, it's only now that my kids are 2 and 4 that I'm getting to a stage where, like, there is a semblance of routine and stuff where I'm actually able to do stuff again. So, I've been going to the gym early, like just as I take my daughter to school. It's a nice one.
Yeah, I know. I see on your stories you're there early, like really early.
Yeah, but I mean it depends. Because I'm never truly going to change my diet. Like I alter it to get rid of the difficult things, like the heavy sugar that I love to intake. I'll drink a bottle of like 2-liter Fanta in a night. Gone. Thanks. I know. So I'm adjusting those things slightly, but I do enjoy running. So there you have it. Anyway, guys, enough of me and my terrible diet and average to lower average body. I've got one of those bodies that was like, it used to be in good shape, and now it's not.
I've never had that. But
let's move on to some ultra chats here. Matthew McCoskey was just talking about me being a dad, and he's first up again. I think he takes great pride in this, Lou, being first in the door. Big Matthew, good egg that he is. Hi guys, first again. There you go. He knows. Not been the best few days. I think Keith Lee will win the Rumble and the title at Mania. Drew versus Sheamus is super intriguing. Also, saw this thing on Twitter. World title 4-way Volta. Sorry, I ruined my own rule there. Volta, Roman, Balor, and Drew. Effing amazing. Wow. I mean, yeah, it would be.
And I mean, soon going to be carrying Cross probably, which also, yes.
I mean, first of all, we're very sorry to hear that you haven't had the best few days. I don't know if that's what you've been watching in wrestling that wasn't great, or just you personally, but either way, my friend, I extend my thoughts with you. You're always welcome here at the Wrestling Daily to take a load off. Secondly, Keith Lee to win the Rumble and the title. I'd be down. I would. You know what? That sounds more left field than it is, because he could plausibly do it. Do you know what I mean? Like he could win the Rumble, and WWE could all of a sudden get behind him. And I wouldn't call it like the surprise of the century. Like if he went on to Mania and picked things up with Drew, like the story is kind of there from last year or whatever. I just don't know if I see it. Like I feel like there's only room for WWE in like one a year almost to make that surge. Otherwise, WrestleMania is very much the biggest matches they can think of on the card. So I feel like if Big E is getting that run, I'm not convinced they would do Keith Lee in the exact same run. I just don't
agree. And I think both could, if whether it's Keith Lee or Big E in that title match, I think both could do with the Rumble win to set that up. So obviously you can't have both. I mean, you can have both, but you shouldn't have both. So I think that I think that it was very good, the backstage segment with Sheamus yesterday as well, potentially setting up the sort of a battle over Drew's friendship, where maybe a 3-way or something at the Rumble, leading to a singles match later down the line with either Drew and Sheamus or Drew and Keith. I think it could be a nice dynamic having Keith Lee involved in that as well. So trying to make like Drew see the light. I guess. Like, listen, Sheamus is like, you just have to go back to SmackDown like 3 weeks ago, and he was trying to kill Big E, or however long ago it was. So I think that could be a nice dynamic. I mean, I'd totally be down for it if we end WrestleMania with Big E and Keith Lee as WWE and Universal Champion. I'd totally be here for it. I just don't think, as you say, we'll get two. I think we'll get one or the other. And I think probably a lot does depend on The Rock and also Edge, maybe, how Edge is going to factor in. We've long heard that the plans for WrestleMania are Edge and Randy Orton. Whether that involves a title remains to be seen. But I think Edge could have a go in things. But I mean, listen, we'll see how things develop over the coming weeks. I mean, as I said, it was around this time that you can now start to see, looking back retrospectively, that the plans were being put in place for Drew. He was going on that babyface run, doing his countdown to the Claymore. Retrospectively, you can see, all right, it was probably in the works for a while, like a month or so at least. So hopefully in the next couple, like next week or so, next 2 weeks, so after we come out of TLC, we'll start seeing seeds being planted and see who's starting to pick up wins on TV, whether it be Big E or Keith Lee. But a little wrinkle to this could be, obviously, whether Big E seems to be starting a feud with Sami Zayn. So is he going to lose that and then go on to WrestleMania, or is he going to win the title? I mean, you could do the Intercontinental Champion versus Universal Champion at WrestleMania. Would be a great way to elevate the IC title.
Been a while.
It's been a while indeed. But on that note, I love how they handled things on SmackDown with the IC title. I thought it was actually incredibly classy. Like the way they had the old title there at ringside. I loved it. But yeah, no, I would be here for Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and on the note of the four-way that you mentioned, my lord, Volta, Roman, Balor, and Drew. Geez, that's a European heavy match, and I love it. And also, I mean, obviously, if that was to happen at Survivor Series, I honestly think that NXT UK could get in the mix like that. Like, they do have the talent to fill out those slots. If you wanted to make some of those dream matches and you wanted to make it a 4-brand invitational, which probably will be what happens one day. They kind of did it with just bringing some NXT UK people because they kind of clumped NXT under one umbrella because Kaylee Ray.
Tony Storm was there. Walter was there. I mean,
Big Done.
Walter was massively mistreated, but the less said about that, the better.
Horrendous. Yeah, I asked him about that in an interview, and he was just like, I must say, I did see this comment in the chat from Lizzie Stallion herself. I think I've just followed you, Matthew McCoskey. Yes, guys, do that. All of my good friends.
Follow each other.
In the Wrestling Daily chat, I want you to all follow each other because you're a great little community here. Get together on Twitter. We can talk about shows, what we want to do on shows. Follow Wrestle2. So follow each other, follow Wrestle2, and we'll keep this community going, guys. It's some of my favorite people at my favorite time of day. So do it. Make sure it happens. And also, let's get to another Ultra Chat from Bo Hill. Possibly the GOAT of Ultra Chats. He loves a hot take. Possible hot take. The only thing that is keeping the Fiend relevant is Alexa Bliss. Yeah, that is a take.
It's not one I totally disagree with, though. I don't like the wording of it, but I think that this is the most interesting both have been. I think both are massively helping each other, and the dynamic is helping.
That doesn't mean he's trash otherwise, though.
No. I agree that he is better off for the partnership with Bliss. I don't think. Let me get the exact wording up. I don't think he is. She is keeping him relevant. But I do think the dynamic is helping both, and was actually a fantastic use of both. And I did miss her on TV last night. I did miss that dynamic.
It's. I think this has been amazing for Alexa, mostly. It has obviously rubbed the Fiend tremendously because, and I've said this for a while, the thing with the Fiend, and we talk about his matches and the way that sometimes he's backed into a corner because of the way he works and the way the character is so strong and doesn't sell. I've always felt like, a bit like The Undertaker in his early iteration, you have to kind of tell the audience what weakens him. You have to tell the story of, like, how do you get to him, which they're trying to do now via Alexa Bliss. So the more layers for the Fiend, The more you can get into his story, the more you can get into his character, the better for everyone. The matches will make much more sense and will flow so much easier. So in that regard, I'm loving it that they're peeling back the layers a little bit here. And on the other side of that coin, Alexa Bliss, I said this on Twitter and people didn't really love it. I'd take her back in the title picture right now. I don't think she has to work like the Fiend does, and I don't think she needs the title. But I always think the most interesting character or the hottest character on the show is probably the one you want in the title picture. I always think that. And I think Alexa, yes, she's had a load of title reigns, but this fresh iteration can do a lot of things. And I really feel like it's been a stroke of genius. And WWE don't get enough credit, really, when they get things right. And this is one of the few, like, really, it spawns from SmackDown as well. That you can add that to the list of great things.
I mean, it got better on Raw. Like, I feel like Raw is when it really picked up. I feel it was a bit muddled with Braun. I guess that's how they got to it because of the Team Little Big or whatever they called it.
The Genesis was Raw, right? And without Braun, SmackDown. And without Braun, it doesn't really make that much sense to do it. Like that whole first the Swamp match, I want to call it, where Alexa Bliss first appears, and you're like, oh, that was amazing addition to that match. And I feel like when you add Alexa into Bray now and how she's kind of been taken in by him, like he's like toxic, he intoxicates you. I really feel like that's great. So for me, both of them, I mean, I was about to say for SmackDown, you can just add that to the tremendous work they've done, particularly the past 6 months. Look at Bayley and Sasha, look at Roman as the tribal chief. And I would also classify this as a SmackDown creation. So, man, but more for Raw. Like you said, they're pushing it forward. And I'm really interested to see, because Randy didn't really need the Alexa edition to tell the story with the Fiend because of the whole fire and all of that malarkey, right? So I'm very interested to see how this goes and whether Randy can actually get something on the Fiend and how people will react to that, because I'm still sore from what happened in Saudi Arabia. I'm not even going to say his name. Let's move on to an AEW chat from CM Chris, another top league ultra chatter. He really is. Good evening, Alex and Louis. Good evening. This week is going to be really interesting and hopefully a lot of fun for any AEW, Impact and general wrestling fans with tonight and what will happen at Dynamite. #EGE. That, of course, means Elite Good Eggs. Now, before I jump too much into this, yes, I'm about to say what you're about to ask me. I have watched Impact. Us media members. I don't have a collective noun for us, but the us media members, we do get sent previews, because obviously they're taped Impact shows, so we get the media screening so that we can review them and have stuff ready to go afterwards. But you're not meant to say anything ahead of time, so I can't say exactly what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see the reaction. That's all I will say.
Yes. What I will say is it's very much like I anticipated. It's still an Impact show with Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Like, it's not so much the invasion that you thought, but it's still it's very interesting what goes down. Yeah. And
I feel, unfortunately, that people might, and this is part of the not just Impact tonight, a bigger branch of this whole working relationship. I think people might be expecting slightly more than we are going to get. Nowhere has anyone said we are getting a full-on invasion of both parties.
No, but also it's only the first,
of course,
crossover as well. There's it looks like there's going to be more. So you're not going to give everything away on the first night, even if that was the case. But anyway, I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, it's good. And Wednesday, it looks like it's going to carry on. So it's going to be very good. It's going to be. I'm very intrigued to see how they handle it. And there is like a little. No, I can't say it. I was about to spoil something again, but
there's some nice teasers of some stuff that would be very exciting to see.
Yeah, and Kenny Omega is not the only AEW person on the show. That much I will say.
I think it's been reported. We can say it.
Can we?
Well, Heel by Nature, in case you're going to say something I'm not going to say, Heel by Nature is reporting that Tony Khan is going to be on the show.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. He and Skiavone do something on the show. So there you go.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what though, but I thoroughly enjoyed that part. Anyway, moving along before I tread on my toes anymore. Let's go back.
Before you're not sent the Impact screening next week.
Yeah, pretty much. Matthew McCarthy is back again, and he says, so this may be my last one for some time. Maybe when all 4 hosts for December 30th, it's going to be a big show, brother. I would appreciate you coming through with that. Also wanted to say, does TLC feel like a huge deal right now? 2 world title matches, and both are TLC matches. Bang brains! I mean, that's Matthew McCoskey's hallmark. At this stage, is banging brains.
It does.
It feel like a huge deal?
So I'll tell you, my brother, so obviously he's at school, can't watch the wrestling shows like the normal pay-per-views. But I said to him, you're going to watch TLC because you're on half term. And he was like, both world title matches are TLC matches, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, so we're getting Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens TLC and Drew McIntyre AJ Styles TLC. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, those 2 feel pretty exciting. I'm like, yeah, they do. So that should be a lot of fun.
The event is
come on.
The event is TLC.
Yes, okay, I know. But in isolation, you tell me AJ Styles and like Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, they're both going to be incredibly exciting matches. TLC matches are always bonkers and fun to watch. We've seen a sort of hardcore match between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns at Rumble 2017 before, and that was good fun. So yeah, I'm really excited for the show. I think it could be a fantastic one. The 2 men's title matches are going to be really exciting. If we get something with New Day and Hurt Business again, that could be good on pay-per-view without the commercial breaks and such. Fiend Randy Orton could be fun, depending on how they do it with the Fiend and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it could be quite an exciting pay-per-view.
I think you've skewed the question. It wasn't whether it's going to be exciting or good. It was, does it feel like a huge deal? Yeah, that's a very different question.
To me, it does. I can't remember the last time.
You're skewing it again. You're saying to you, that's not what he asked. Yeah. Is it massive deal to you? He said, does it feel like a big deal in general?
But it's a subjective question. You like if it could feel big to me, but it might not feel big to you. And I'm going to say to me,
I'm asking you to gauge. Is it a big deal?
Yes, it is. Right. When was the last time people were so excited for 2 title matches, 2 world title matches? Or I can't remember the last time.
I mean, literally, probably the last pay-per-view.
Really? By Hell in a Cell, were people that excited for Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre?
I mean, I still was. I definitely was interested for Roman, and I definitely was interested for Bayley and Sasha. So,
okay, I meant the men's title stuff. You're the one skewing my opinions now.
You just asked world title, did you not? Are you trying to devalue what a women's world title is?
Well, is it called the Raw Women's World Title?
They are world titles for the women.
But is it called the Raw Women's World? No, AEW is AEW. I think it's World Women's or Women's World. WWE is not. So I'm taking it purely on the name of the title to avoid confusion.
Right. I mean, don't devalue women on my show, Louis.
Sorry, with my Twitter activity and how much I've been supporting AEW's women's division, do you really need to say that to me?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Listen, for me,
yeah. Hang on. You refuse to let me have an opinion. This is good television.
They didn't ask for your opinion. That's why I'm not letting you have one.
Go on. What do you have to think?
No, I'm excited for it. I agree with everything Louis just said in terms of the quality of the pay-per-view. It's going to be great. Of course it is. I think since WWE have been in the Thunderdome, it's been nothing but great. I don't think they've missed yet. I honestly don't think they've had a bad pay-per-view in the Thunderdome. And TLC, I'm a sucker for gimmick matches. But I really do think it's going to be amazing. But does it feel like a huge deal? Like, do I think Kevin Owens is going to beat Roman Reigns? No, I don't. Do I think that AJ is going to beat Drew? No, I don't. So that is partly why I know what I'm going to see is going to be amazing, but it's not the big fight feel. I think that's different. And I think that's what the question was more alluding to, how it feels. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yes, Alex. I see what you're saying here.
Thank you. Thank you for your concession, Louis. No, you are right, though. The pay-per-view is going to be great. And I'm really excited about the prospect of some of the matches. And in fact, I'm talking to Kevin Owens on Friday. There's a little tidbit for you. And I've never had the pleasure of talking to Kevin Owens, actually.
Sounds like a lovely guy.
Yeah, I've got loads I want to ask him, but I think it's part of a group thing, so I don't know how many questions I'll get. But I will speak to the man, and that should be good. I'm also... I've got a few things on the horizon this week, actually. I might let everyone know as and when they happen, because sometimes they don't happen. And sometimes WWE get the hump that you say they're going to happen, and then they don't happen.
I remember the amount of times you've been like, oh, I'm interviewing this person on Twitter. Like, you tweet it, and then the next day you're like, yeah, this has been postponed. This isn't happening anymore. I
literally did that once, and then 5 minutes later they were like, yeah, anyway, that's off. Oh, I was like, did they see my tweet? Like, well,
they've got eyes everywhere, Alex.
Yeah, I know. I think that was, I think it was Naomi that was for, because like I had so many of her fans being like, oh wow, like can you ask her this? And then I had to like really have come hat in hand. Well, I'm sorry, guys, because it didn't just get postponed until the next day. It was like weeks, but it did happen in the end, and you should check it out on YouTube if you haven't. What else have we got going on here? Let's get to some news, man. We're flying through the Ultra Chats, which I do love and enjoy, and Matty has left us a couple that we will come back to, but I think it's worth touching on CM Punk, Louis. He has been talking on Oral Sessions, which is a hell of a name, from Renee Young, or Paquette, sorry. Renee Good, I don't know. What is her actual name these days?
I think Renee Paquette she's going by.
But I don't know. Marion Moxley, surely Good is her actual name.
I mean, Alex.
I'm just riffing. She's got loads of names, right? Anyway, I don't know.
Whatever she wants to be called.
Yeah. And so CM Punk was her third guest. By the way, she had great guests. She had Mox as the first one, Barnett as the second, and Punk as the third. Man, she's got some great gets. I think that CM Punk, this is a great interview because CM Punk likes her, right? That's the best way I can put it. They're obviously friends from the Fox show, and I think that he was more giving in this interview than he has done in many recent ones that I've seen. And he does, Lou, go into detail about what he thinks regarding possible return to wrestling, be it WWE or AEW.
Basically, it's not happening. He's basically said to come back, he would have to be offered the most ridiculous amount of money that it probably wouldn't be worth it. His exact quote to Renee was, without wanting to insult anybody on either side of the fence, any WWE talent or AEW talent, it would take above all an interesting scenario, a story that would be fun to tell. Also, just the stupidest amount of money. But they could save themselves a whole lot of money if they just presented a fun storyline. Now, what that is, I don't know. I'm a pretty picky guy, especially at this point. He actually told the Swinger and Mrs. podcast, I think around April time, that the three people he would return for is a match with John Cena, a match with Daniel Bryan, and a match with Rey Mysterio. And he also expressed interest in facing Will Ospreay. So an interesting story with one of those three, obviously Bryan and Mysterio active on SmackDown. John Cena isn't right now, but I mean, could always come back. And it would be very interesting to see how they do it. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. But famous last words in wrestling is, I don't see it happening. If you and I sat here last Tuesday and you said, hey, Sting's going to debut on AEW Dynamite, I would have been, don't see that happening. But it has happened. So, yeah. But it was for anyone that haven't seen, Renee is fantastic. Like, honestly, brilliant at her job. This interview is incredibly fantastic. Punk talks about muting Vince McMahon while he was on commentary, doing Raw commentary. It's just a great interview, and Renee is fantastic. And the Oral Sessions podcast, all of them been great. So check those out if you haven't already.
Renee is the greatest. I miss her already from WWE TV. Super talented woman. Man, like you just said, Punk. He said it himself, there's more possibilities in AEW, but when he did negotiate with them, he did ask for what could be described as an extortionate figure. I've seen people quote 20 million. I mean, if you listen, whichever way you weigh, well, you can't say that. Whichever way you weigh it up, you know,
you think it's worth it?
Who's to say it's not? What price could you put on CM Punk returning?
So there was a whole, I think the Mirror did like a whole like WWE salaries revealed, and the most was Brock on 12.5 million a year. So you're thinking he would be earning nearly double Brock. That's a lot of money.
That's how you calibrate whether someone's worth it or not.
Listen, it would probably be the biggest wrestling return anyone could do right now. Like the biggest.
Not probably is. Like, listen, you're saying this. I'm not saying what it's. You know, you're making out. Oh, it's
I
not
think
worth
Rock
it.
would be bigger. Rock would be bigger.
It's not really the same, is it? It's not really the same.
Well, I mean, if we're taking like wrestling return, I would say like returning to WWE. I would say Rock 1 million. If you gave me the option of the two, they were the same money. I would 100% take the Rock.
Yeah, well, who wouldn't? But that's not what we're talking about, is it? Like, what I'm saying is CM Punk returning to wrestling is vastly different than The Rock, who hasn't actually really left or been in wrestling. They're
Yes, okay, I see what you mean.
Two very different scenarios, right?
Yes, they are. I just don't think it's worth 20 million.
If you have billions, then you might think that. That's what my point is. You can't say, you know, you can't sit there and go, well, oh no, I'd rather have Punk for 5 million because, you know, his merchandise might cover it, and then the buys from this pay-per-view that he's on. Like, you're thinking about it too much, Lou, is my point here. If you're Tony Khan, right, and you have that income, if you're looking at what will boost AEW in the long run, which a CM Punk run might, that will attract a lot of fans, it might actually end up being worth like just 20 million. I'm not saying it is, but it might. There are lots of different connotations there. And I do feel like a CM Punk return to either company would be a big shot in the arm. Probably more so, though, to AEW than it would be to WWE. And for that, if you have to pay the price, that's a decision you have to make. I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't, but what I'm saying is Punk is right to know his worth. And he is worth a lot.
So I don't know whether it's about knowing your worth or being like, I am so content with my life right now that I don't have any urge to return to wrestling.
But that is your worth.
Yeah, I think knowing your worth is different from being like, listen, I've got no interest in wrestling, but if it is for the most ridiculous amount of money that I'm probably not even worth, I would return. Like, I mean, I don't think when Punk's saying this, he's holding out for more money because he thinks that's what he's worth, or because he just has no interest in wrestling and he just like, all right, just give me the biggest figure you've got and I'll consider it. I think that.
He said it though, hasn't he? He is interested, but the story has to be there. And thus far, no one has presented him that. And I also think he thought WWE would give him an offer by now that he hasn't got.
Yes, and I mean we've obviously heard the whole what was it, the AW thing where he's like, oh, they didn't give me an offer. It was like they didn't do business the right way or whatever he said. I think he said they sent him an offer via text, which they've denied or whatever. I just don't see a CM Punk return happening anytime soon. I think if we were going to get it, the biggest chance would have been last year with WWE Backstage. But yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening. But for 20 million, I think, as you say, it's obviously for me sitting here, 20 million to me is worth a lot more than it is to Vince McMahon. So I mean, it could be. We've just this 20 million figure has been rumored. I don't think has anyone said it. Has Punk said it himself?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're just plucking figures here. But you know, I don't know what it would take to get CM Punk back, or what stories would motivate him to come back. But I still think it'd be a great thing for anyone who could get him back. People kind of have soured on the idea of Punk almost because they think, you know, and you see people, you know, say that he cried off or that he's too sensitive or all of this other stuff. I don't really think about it in those terms. I just think if he was to come back and that could be worked out, it'd be really, really cool. Like,
yeah, it would be cool.
That's the bottom line. If he could, I'd love to see it. If not, fine. He had a great run when he did.
You'd see a massive bump in Raw ratings. Like, I think this is what could get you hear the whole lapsed fans. I think this is like, I know a lot of people that turned away from wrestling when Punk did. So I think it could be a thing that gets fans back. Whether WWE can keep that going is another thing.
Interesting. Apparently, there are some issues with the Ultra Chats at the moment. Again, Louis and I are on air, so we're at the mercy really of what the mods are saying. But apparently, there is an issue with the PayPal element of it. So please do keep trying if you haven't, or speak to Mod Mother Jenna and try and work something out. We do apologize for the inconvenience. On that note, though, let's get to the other two Ultra Chats that we have from Matty at the moment. First one, NXT, because we haven't talked about this yet, was amazing. Both War Game matches were amazing too, but the men's stole it. I was arguing with Will Gavin about this yesterday on air. I felt the men's was just a bit better. Pat McAfee is just brilliant, but EO jumping from the cage was excellent too. Louis, now's your chance to get back at Alex. I want you to fire Alex Vincent Kennedy McMahon style. Louis couldn't if he wanted to.
I don't have that kind of authority, unfortunately.
I would like to hear that impression, though, if that's what Matty's getting at.
Go on, you go first, actually. You go first.
Me? You're firing me. I'm going to
I
fire
know,
myself.
you okay. I'm laughing from him doing it. You're fired.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. I think I'd be like, you're fired.
That was a lot better.
He kind of like rolled. The R's barely there. Fired. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the Ultra Chat, War Games was amazing. I think the men stole it as well. I do think the women deserve to be applauded for how they handled the baby faces having the advantage with keeping EO out. I was worried beforehand how that would work, but I think they did it well. Pat McAfee is brilliant. I mean, bear in mind that's his second wrestling match ever. I think 30 at one of the Indies in 2009, but that doesn't count. I mean, absolutely amazing. EO's spot of sticking the trash can on her head and jumping was brilliant. I mean, the eclipse on the chair was brilliant. For Remember Moon, brutal. Yeah,
seriously, the bitter end on the chair was heinous. I clutched my own chest, like, ow, that looks nasty.
I mean, Candice LeRae, obviously, I think it's worth we touch on this, has reportedly broken her arm, unfortunately. Obviously, thoughts go out to her, wishing her the best with everything. Well, she was doing some great work. Hopefully, can stay on TV and sort of a managerial role for Indy Hartwell. That could be cool to keep her on TV. But best to her. But for me, a great night of wrestling. Thatcher and Ciampa was great. Loomis and Cameron Grimes. I know we have been pretty vocal vocal critics of the Loomis and Grimes story, but that match was better than it had any right to be. It was I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Good stuff all round from NXT on Sunday night. Should be Saturday. Should be Saturday.
Yes, I prefer it Saturday. I thought, again, I echo what Louis said, that both of those matches and all the spots in it were just incredibly well done. And NXT, again, just keep killing it. Like every takeover, you know they're going to deliver, and they do. And that's a really hard bar to live up to, and they do every single pay-per-view. So I really feel like, and I've said this before, that Dynamite is probably... SmackDown's very close to it right now, but probably the best weekly show. But I still think takeovers are the best shows in the world. That's just my opinion. Oh, wow. Chucking my mic around. That's just my opinion, though. And I welcome anyone to counter it, please. So let's get to the other Ultra Chat that Matty sent our... Matty says, talking about Alex's Insta stories... Louis, I have to ask, what is your Spotify Wrapped like? I think he means like your end of year stuff. P.S. Alex, I prefer Evian over Volvic. Oops. I mean, I don't think I can actually brand on this show, but I like a bit of Volvic, me. Lou, what is your... I mean, Louis doesn't really answer this question because he doesn't actually listen to music, the weirdo.
I don't have Spotify.
What is, like, you don't listen to music, no takeaway, no Burger King, no KFC. It's incredible.
Oh, I have takeaway.
Yeah,
just no Burger King or KFC.
You must have a very what kind of takeaways?
If I had the option, so my dad's Middle Eastern, so we quite like a Turkish or a Greek takeaway.
If you have the option, does that mean you're at the mercy of your parents?
Yeah, I mean they're paying.
I forget how young you are. Anyway, go on, carry on. What do you have?
I mean, if we get like a Turkish or a Greek, it's normally like chicken and salad, like nice, like grilled chicken salad, very nice. I mean, if we want something a bit different, I quite like a pizza, like nice meaty pizza. Can't go wrong with that.
Somebody says, hang on, Pierre says here, what does Louis do on days off? I mean, apart from break exclusives, stare at walls, I think. What did
I do today? I did a university assignment today. I started working on that. I'm at university and I don't have much free time. What am I going to do tomorrow? Probably watch. I haven't actually watched the Keith Lee 24/7, 24, whatever the hell it's called, documentary, or the Liv Morgan one. So I need to watch both of those. I'll probably do that tomorrow.
Not a bad shout. There you go. A little window into the weird and wonderful life of Louis Dangoor. We got a little bit more news here, and this one has certainly been divisive. But ahead of Raw, there was, of course, there was obviously a main event that was taped, and this happened. Who's that, Lou?
It's Elias, of course. And
why is your mouse over Elias's face?
It's not my mouse. I got this screenshot from Twitter. It's not my mouse. So this was on an episode of Main Event. It was Elias, and as you can see, as I'm sure many people are happy to see, the return of Jackson Ryker. So obviously Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake returned on SmackDown. Very happy for them. They were incredibly unfortunate with this whole Jackson Ryker being taken off TV for his comments. I mean, they were swept up in this. So Jackson Ryker returned on Main Event as the sort of bodyguard to Elias, I guess kind of his second. And Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp has reported that, let me just get the report up on Fightful Select. There were a lot of people surprised in Orlando at the Thunderdome as Jackson Ryker appeared at the tapings with Elias. We're told that this was a dry run on Main Event to see if the pairing worked in an effort to pitch the duo to Vince McMahon. Just last week, several on the SmackDown side had noted that Ryker was not worth the risk of being on television. That is a direct quote. Ooh. And when contacted about Ryker's appearance, said that WWE is likely gauging reception to the spot. For months, Ryker was not brought to TV and was not featured on internal roster sheets. I don't like this. Please get him off TV.
Yeah. I mean, the Forgotten Sons, we've seen them elsewhere, right?
We have.
Yeah, they popped up on SmackDown.
Yeah. I mean, Cutler and Wesley Beck popped up on SmackDown this week, and obviously we saw the Forgotten Sons on SmackDown. They debuted after WrestleMania. Looked like they were in line for a SmackDown title push, or in the picture at least. And they got taken off when around the Black Lives Matter movement. Jackson Ryker, around that time, Jackson Ryker was posting some pro-Trump comments, which not only earned him some heat from people on Twitter, but also people on
in the back.
In the back, yeah, which is completely unsurprising. So yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to say this. I do not want Jackson Ryker on TV with Elias. I just don't think it's right. I think that I don't think this is going to go down well. I don't think it will make it to television. I think the reception to this, I have seen nothing. You said it's been divisive. I don't think it's been divisive at all. I think it's been very sort of, it hasn't divided opinion. It's been divisive, the decision, but it hasn't divided opinion. Like it is 100% people don't like him. So for me, not worth it. Get him off TV.
It's worth saying here that WrestleManiac says, kudos to Louis on his wrestling journalist career while studying. Props, bro. I echo those comments, Louis. Very proud of you for being able to juggle as you can. I mean,
Pierre has said, I'm 19. I'm not. I'm 20. I'm not a teenager. I'd like you to put.
You need to read down. He acknowledges this. You're skipping.
Has he admitted his mistake?
Yes. Is this what our show's become?
He's 20. Oh no, Matthew corrected him. Thank you, Matthew.
And then he said, I know. I don't know why I put that.
I see.
There you go. Anyway, you're not this though. You haven't got Adam Pearson calling you the GOAT. So there's levels. There's levels to this, mate. All right.
More news to cover. Move on.
No. Anyway, let's have a look. Well, saying that, I've only got 5 minutes left here. Now, I'm interested about this one here. Actually, I don't know which one I was going to do here. We're going to do. Hang on. There's 2 women's stories I'm going to check on. So give us the Eva Marie update, Lou, because originally Cultaholic, I believe, of all people, said that she was going to be appearing imminently, and of course, that did not come to pass.
Yeah. PW Insider corroborated that. So I mean, Cultaholic isn't normally a name we see with wrestling exclusives, but PW Insider certainly is one, and one of the more reputable ones. And PW Insider is now following this up with saying that Eva Marie has signed, nothing's changed there. She's even listed on roster lists, just doesn't have a brand assigned as of yet. Obviously, more updates will emerge over the coming weeks. Could be a Rumble return, sort of something like we saw with MVP, where he came back and the Rumble and has been on TV since. Could be the direction for Eva Marie. I've also seen speculated maybe she could be. I know Angel Garza was sort of talking to people backstage, like it as a like speaking to a lover almost. Could she be the one there? Could kind of suit her gimmick and her look. That could be quite cool. Yeah, I mean, Matthew McCarthy said it here. Angel Garza's talking to Eva Marie. You heard it here first. I totally think that could be in a plan. And I guess kind of links to another report that we might talk about within the next 5 minutes.
Yes. It's interesting that Eva Marie posted a photo all in red today with a rose, similar to Angel Garza. I don't know if people connected those dots, but she did on Instagram. And yeah, she could be a great heater for Angel Garza. She really could. And I mean heater in she kind of had go away heat last time, but maybe she's gone away and worked on her skills. I remember she was training with a couple of 205 Live guys at one point. Brian Kendricks, indeed. So come on, I'm prepared to give her a chance. Why not? If she's gone away and refined her skills, I reckon, why not? Why not give her a go? The story that Louis is alluding to, that I will briefly touch on for us, is that there are tentative plans, or it's been discussed, for Charlotte and Andrade to return to TV together. This comes from the normally ultra-reliable WrestleVotes, Louis. I don't have the tweet in front of me. Can you tell me, did he say that this was happening, or is it just talked about?
Let me get it up. But there was a bit of an exciting twist to this, which I guess maybe a bit more optimistic. He goes, and I think Sean Rossab has confirmed an idea that has been discussed, however, not determined at this point, is an on-screen pairing of Charlotte and Andrade, who are obviously engaged in real life when they return to TV. The idea being it is to use Charlotte's star power to elevate Andrade into the main event scene, which obviously big thumbs up from me. You don't have to ask me twice about whether I want to see Andrade in the main event scene. I 100% do.
Love it.
Yep, 100%. Me too. I think this could be a cool dynamic. We normally see it the other way around, I guess, where it's very rare that WWE sees the woman as the biggest star and wants them to elevate the men, which could be a nice dynamic to it. And I mean, if we saw the last time we were on TV, Angel Garza and Andrade were sort of their tag team had combusted after what felt like 36 years of teases of such. So could we be leading to a Charlotte and Andrade versus Angel Garza and Eva Marie feud? That could be interesting if that is the plan. But I don't actually hate this idea at all, to be honest. I mean, I did kind of get Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins vibes, but I think it works better on the heel side of it. So I think a heel Charlotte and a heel Andrade, if it results in an Andrade main event push, could definitely be interesting. I mean, Andrade, we know he's worked on his English a lot, but his English certainly isn't his strong point. There's nothing wrong with that. But Charlotte could be his mouthpiece. In
his video, I think he proved that his English has improved immensely.
There is a video?
There is a video. He put a video out last Friday talking about rebuilding Andrade. I posted it on Twitter, actually, and he did too.
I'll have to go and have a look at that.
You need to. It's only 4 minutes, but Andrade talks about his heritage in the business, like his family and all, and how he came to be in his journey from, that took him from AAA and then Japan to WWE, and he talks about rebuilding and how it's his blood. He has to come back and come back stronger, and he does it all in English. Does it very well. So, yeah, he has been making improvements. And I remember speaking to him in January of this year, and his English was so-so. I mean, he was trying, but he was actively taking lessons, he told me at that point. So he's obviously stuck with it, and Andrade's there. For what it's worth, and I'm probably going to share some news on this tomorrow, I wouldn't put too much stock into that story. I won't say much more at this stage, but let it be known I've never been wrong on Charlotte Flair yet. So apparently they already have plans. They already have. Go on.
I was going to say, I was actually going to message you as soon as I saw this report and completely forgot to, because I know you're normally, I mean, you were the one that reported that Charlotte Flair wasn't going to be returning until to probably 2021, and that's what we've got. So I was going to message you, completely forgot. But yeah, we will. I guess you can talk about that maybe tomorrow with SP3.
I will talk about it tomorrow with SP3. It's one of those things I'm just putting together the pieces, and yeah, but I will have a report for everyone tomorrow on that one.
Hang on. I've just seen this at Uptown Avondale. Charlotte is terrible on the mic.
Whoa! Come on now.
She is not terrible on the mic.
Jeff Hardy circa 02 was terrible on the mic. Come on, guys. Yeah,
Charlotte is not terrible on the mic.
I get what you. I mean, maybe you can make the argument the content of what she says, maybe, because if you are in that way inclined and tired of the way she's booked and presented, maybe. But she's not terrible on the mic. Come on.
She's not terrible. No, I do disagree with that. Yeah, I just thought we'd get that slander out of the way. Should we get to our final super chat, which has or alt chat, which has some congratulations in it, obviously, which we haven't mentioned yet, to Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins on the birth of their daughter. So
go on, Louis. I will let you read out the super chat from the wonderful Carol Ones.
Yeah, Carol Ones. Trekkie386 says, "Hello guys, hope you're well. With Becky and Seth having a baby girl and Mox and Renee having a baby girl, obviously, for those that don't know, Renee announced that on the weekend, along with Roman having a daughter. Am I the only one thinking female Shield in the future? Also, Louis, why are you not on the next Quizlemania card? Don't they want you?"
It is.
I am on the next Quizlemania card. I will be there. That is not this Wednesday, so not tomorrow. It's 8 days' time.
It's the year ender.
Female Shield. Exactly. Big Fat Quiz of the Year. For those that don't know, is this an American thing or it's a UK thing? I know that, but do you have that in America? I don't think so. We have like a Big Fat Quiz of the Year, so it's everything 2020 based. Basically, like what year this has been, and I mean, what a year to do a big fat quiz with all that's gone on in wrestling and the world this year. So yeah, it'll be very, very exciting. I will win the Quizlemania, the final Quizlemania of the year. But in terms of female Shield, I mean. Sure, I'm sure WWE is already drafting up those contracts.
Yeah, I'm sure Mox and Renee are more than willing to have their daughter go work there. Could be a very different place by then, to be fair. Although Vince will probably somehow still be alive. Yeah, somehow. And also, just a little passing note before we close up here. Shaquille O'Neal will be appearing on AEW Dynamite this week. Now, the timeline of this, of course, goes back to Shaq saying in the summer, he told The Athletic that he would love to fight Cody. I think the exact quote was like, text him, print it, whatever. And then obviously Jade Cargill on her debut on November 11th then went on to say when Cody said that he had slayed giants, she was like, have you though? What? Where's my camera gone? What is this, Louis?
I don't know. Where have you gone?
I don't know. Anyway, I'll just talk. Maybe it's better without my face. Jade Cargill basically said, yes, that Shaq is coming. And now he is coming, presumably, to start something with Cody himself. So watch out for that this Wednesday. And that leads us to the end of the show, where we would like to thank you so much for bearing with us tonight. Your amazing chats, ultra chats. We really appreciate you, and learning how old you all are for some obscure reason. So thank you very much, guys. And I'll be back tomorrow with SP3. And Louis, this is his last show of the week. So show Louis some love, guys, because he is going to be buckling down and doing his dissertation. So SP3 will be stepping in on Friday. And yeah, I mean, Ali has hacked in and taken my picture away for some obscure reason. But thank you so much, guys. And we will catch you tomorrow.